Okay, welcome back everybody to the show. So we're just going to go straight in and get started on what seemed to be a bit of a boring weekend across the board. So
Mm.
I think it will be good to just go straight into it. And Tom, let's start with you. What did you think of the Leicester versus Palace game, and where are you at with your season?
Very worried still. I thought we were there defensively. I think, Faz is starting to find himself in the team a bit more. He's looking quite an aggressive defender. He did really well. He was like one of the options for man of the match. Danny Ward won it in the end. So he had a pretty good game. He made one really, really good save. Hopefully these players can take confidence. But so we're okay defensively wise, not too bad. But the other end of the pitch, we weren't clinical at all. Like no one had any sort of brilliance to their play at all. Like Maddison, not great either. Wasn't looking at his best. I personally thought Gareth Southgate was there looking at him for the World Cup, and I think he felt a bit of pressure from that with the whole spotlight on him because everyone has been talking that he deserves to be in the World Cup team. So I know he's a professional and he shouldn't feel that pressure and he should know how to handle it. But I just felt like he wasn't. It's probably one of the worst I've seen him play this season. He wasn't playing that great. He usually plays really well when everyone else plays really badly. You know, he's a good pressure player. He's good under pressure. But Harvey Barnes just made some. I thought his decision making in the last part of the pitch was not great. So no one really just had that extra edge. So you know, a 0-0 draw, not the worst result in the world. Hopefully we can take some confidence ahead just from our defence, if anything, because that has been so bad. I mean, we've conceded. I don't know, like I'm sure we've created records with how much we've conceded so far. Do I think that the team still trusts Brendan Rodgers from the performance? Yes. They're still running for him. They're still giving. I thought they didn't put enough pressure off the ball as much as I'd like to see, considering we're right at the bottom, or pretty much second to bottom of the table. But they were still, they were still giving it some. They still. I don't think he's lost their trust. I think they're still working for him. I do think his ideas have gone stale there on the team. So I think they say like a manager has 3 years. After those 3 years, they need a good refresh. New players in that can adopt those ideas and do something with them, like Pep and the managers. But I think that group of players, unless the form changes soon, I don't know what the owners are doing. I don't know what they're waiting for. They've not invested in him. They've not backed him with players. So what they hoping to get out of Brendan Rodgers? His ideas, how I see him, have gone stale now. Great bunch of players still, but not playing up to their potential. Will they towards the end of the season? I don't know. Or the end of this year, even I don't know. So I seem to think that the only change that's going to happen is Brendan Rodgers is going to get the sack, and I think they're just really hoping that he can turn it around because it's going to cost them an absolute, arm and leg, like 10 million. They're thinking. So they're thinking.
So my theory is that I've heard Leicester fans going on about saying that they don't really have any money at the moment. Fair enough, but my theory is that you want to get relegated. You'll get the parachute payments. You'll then win the championship. You'll get a load of money from that. You'll bounce back up to the Premier League next year, and then you'll have money to spend. So that's my whole thought process in regards to it, because I don't understand why Rodgers is still in the job.
No, I don't either. I don't understand. I don't really agree with what you said there, because I just think if we did go down, it would put us back 15 years. Like, we would lose a lot of good players. And
you'll have money though.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
I get what you're saying. There's money coming in, but you're plunging us into uncertain future. We're going to lose some great players, and these great players don't just fall off trees. It's like we've had to work hard to recruit them and find them, and great recruitment. Which I don't know if we're gonna, if our recruitment team is completely changed now. So it's like I can't count on keep finding those players.
I mean,
so I don't think that's what
on that though, you say you'll lose the good players if you get relegated.
Some of them, I think some of them we will.
Like, you're going to lose them anyway. Like, if you don't start playing better football,
Exactly.
you're gonna lose them.
But we'll definitely lose them if we get relegated.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. What I was saying to Nick yesterday, I think we have touched on it before, is that the money issue is that maybe the owners or the owner, sorry, is waiting for Brendan to throw in the towel so they haven't got to pay him. And if he doesn't do that, then they're like, well, stay in the job, because we don't want to have to pay whatever it is, £10 million to sack you and cancel your contract. So I think you're probably stuck with him until he walks.
See, I mean, I think there'll be a breaking point pretty soon. I mean, I was hoping it would be a few games ago, quite a few games ago, to be honest. I was hoping it would be like around the Tottenham game. Yeah, that was when I was really hoping. But I mean, you got to remember they've just spent loads of money on this training, this training facility. They've got this massive expansion coming up. So this all factors in them not wanting this, them not wanting to spend loads of money. All these things happening. But it's like, what's good all these things happening if we're being relegated? We've lost a load of players. Our future is uncertain. How many people are going to want to stay in this fancy hotel? How many people are going to want to stay and make the most of this expansion? We'll then have this fancy new stand and no one to fill it if we're not careful. So my point of view, it's like I get what they're trying to do.
I mean, I disagree with you there, because Leicester City's fans they're all in Leicester. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to go and support somebody else.
No, I know, I completely get that. But my point is, right, we've got a 32,000 seater stadium. They're going to expand it, right? They're going to invest a lot of money into expanding it. They're building a massive hotel next to it. And it's like they're making it into which we do need if we're going to go to that next level of funds, financial fair play, have more income coming through to buy better caliber players. I completely get that. And I completely agree with it. But it's like, if we're not very careful, and right now we could be relegated, and all of that stuff, are we gonna feel like a 40,000 stadium if we're in the Championship? Like we didn't before. We didn't fill out King Power Stadium week in, week out when we were in the Championship before. So it's like we've got to be careful. I mean, how we're investing at the moment. And I just think we've got to, in the January window, we've got to really spend some money. We've got to stay up. We have to stay up. It's imperative.
Yeah, and but in saying that, do you want Brendan Rodgers to be that manager that's buying players in January, or do you think it's his time up and it's time for another manager in to come and buy some players?
Personally, I think his ideas have gone stale. As good as the manager I think he is and can be moving forward, I've always thought that and said that, but I think his ideas have gone stale on these players now. I think they've heard it all before from him. I don't think he's getting them going like he used to do. But I think they still trust him. I think they still think he's a great coach. He's coached, a lot of the players. He's coached them and seen such great performances from them and such great increases from them. But I do generally think that his ideas have gone a bit stale on the players now, and it's time for a change. And I think it's
he's definitely lost the fan base, that's for sure.
Yeah, he has as well. I think it's time for a change. I'd like to see a change in manager. I mean, I was really, pro Brendan for a long time after a lot of the fan base, the Leicester loyal was. But I mean, I think enough's enough now if we want to stay up and keep building the club.
Yeah, I think I think that says it all. You say that a 0-0 draw wasn't that bad a result, but the fans yesterday certainly thought it was, because the team got booed off.
We were disappointed. We were dominated. We actually dominated, to be honest. Second half, we were all over them, and we just couldn't show that clinical edge. We just couldn't, just couldn't get that result.
Yeah. No, I think that sums up. I think we're all in agreement that the best thing for Leicester to move forward is to sack Brendan Rodgers. Otherwise, you're going to be saying hello to that Championship next season. Because if you're still in that relegation zone at Christmas time, it's incredibly difficult to get out of it, as other teams have evidenced over the last few seasons. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that is Leicester spoken about. So let's move on to Arsenal versus Leeds. Obviously, Arsenal keep on winning. I think, the whole Man City result today has only benefited you. You're now 4 points clear at the top of the league. I've watched, obviously I didn't see the game, but I've looked back at the highlights.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
not a
It
whole lot,
wasn't.
not a
It
whole lot of
wasn't.
highlights.
Yeah, but it wasn't an easy game. You know, you were saying that Leeds was going to be really easy, but they absolutely took it to you,
No,
and
no,
they
no,
could have
no.
done something.
I didn't say it was going to be really easy. I said
You did.
I said Leeds don't typically challenge us too much. Today they did pose a little bit more of a challenge. They were also a lot harder to break down. People always say, "Oh, Leeds, they'll attack, leave space at the back." And I thought, if it was Leeds of old, we would have exposed them. But today they were quite solid at the back. And yeah, going forward, they didn't do a whole lot. But they did. Obviously, they got the penalty, which luckily Bamford put wide. Ramsdale seemed to have it covered anyway, which is good. Because I don't think he's saved the penalty since he's been at the club. But yeah, and then a few VAR incidents that saved us in the end. I think they all rightly got overturned. But the interesting thing is there was a little power outage with the referees apparently at the start of the game, and it did include communication with VAR as well. I don't know how true it is, but they were saying that they might even have to carry on the game without VAR, which would have been a completely different game. But yeah, that you can never really say what would have happened in that situation. But no, at the end of the day, yes, we won. Man City lost. More importantly, today is Invincibles Day because Man City have threw away their Invincible season. So every time that happens, it's Invincibles Day, just to let you know.
Okay.
It's important.
All right. I keep saying it, but I think, Gabriel, he's going to cost you the Premier League. The guy's a liability, and no one can say anything to change my mind. Him kicking out his foot today was such an amateurish move to do.
I don't think he really kicked out.
Okay, he left his leg trailing and he did apply a little bit of force into Bamford. So that is known as a kick out. And that's why he still got his yellow card as well. It was just what rescinded that red card was, firstly, there was the foul that was the reason why the penalty wasn't given. And secondly, he didn't apply enough force for it to be seen as a violent act of conduct or whatever it is. But he just keeps on making mistakes. And at some point, it's going to catch up with him.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. I have agreed with you on that. But until we sign somebody else that can play that left-sided role, he's getting into the team every week, unless he gets sent off. I do think he's a good defender, but yeah, his decision making at times it needs to improve. And I'm sure Arteta's getting into him every week, saying, "Look, come on, let's just keep our cool, not make any silly mistakes," because he's not stupid. He'll see that the weak spot in that defence is probably him as well. It was Saliba away today that gave away the penalty, but incredibly unlucky, for the ball to kind of come over the top and hit him on the arm. But then you still have to take note of that, make sure that it doesn't happen again, because it can be avoided. I thought it was a bit harsh, but it is what it is. Luckily, he didn't go in, and we saw the game out. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on Arsenal so far?
Great finish by Saka as well, though, for that goal. Very tight angle and just blasted it into the roof of the net. So, I know you and, well, I don't know, probably a few other people have been saying Saka needs to contribute a bit more. And he definitely did that today. So, happy with Saka.
I mean,
yes, Tom, what are your thoughts?
I haven't seen the game, and I haven't even seen the highlights. I'm just looking at the stats here of the shots. 16 shots from Leeds, 9 shots from Arsenal, 4-4. Does that kind of mean Arsenal's defence is pretty good? Arsenal's defence was good today.
Ramsdale got man of the match. So, yeah, Ramsdale did have a pretty good game. But yeah, no, I'm quite impressed with our defence.
Because if you're going to go on and win the Premiership, the defence has to be top notch throughout now. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a good sign. Like 16 shots, 4 on target, non-conceded. You know, it sounds like you're holding the pressure pretty well. I mean, Saka's started to come alive in the Champions League, didn't he? Like quite recently. I know he had a bit of a
Europa
rough
League,
patch. Yeah, Europa League. Sorry, next year maybe. Had a bit of a rough patch coming into this season, bit of criticism, and then he started to come alive a little bit in the Europa, and that's kind of brought on this phase of really good play from him. Would you say that's a fair comment, or?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's just the Europa League that he came alive in, because he doesn't typically play too much minutes in that, or hasn't so far. Because we play our B team for the most part.
But in terms of getting goals,
I think it's been the past few games that we've started to see a bit more of him. It's the same with a lot of people. You know, once that first goal goes in, like the floodgates typically open a bit. The pressures eases off, and so yeah, like I think, like I was always still impressed with Saka from the start of the season. Like contributions to goal, assists, or goals is one thing that you can see as a stat, but like I still think his contribution has been there. It's just not been getting as many goal contributions as we saw from him last season.
For sure, yeah. Similar to Jesus, isn't it, though, really? You're still, I'm sure as a fan base, you're happy with what he's doing. Nick would kind of be there and think, oh, he's not getting as many goals or assists, and has that criticism. But, I mean, I remember watching the Liverpool-Arsenal game recently, I mean, week before, and just thinking Saka played tremendously well. Like, he was at the heart of everything, and, you know, footwork was so good at that pitch in those high-pressure moments. I just thought, wow. I mean, he is contributing so well, and they're so confident as well. Like,
yeah, I mean, our front four really are starting to play really well together. So we can rely on balls coming through from either side, Saka and Martinelli, and then Ødegaard as well can pick really good passes in the middle. Even Xhaka has been a different player this season.
Oh yeah. I mean, I thought I'd never say that, but I love how he's just overtaken. It's like
because he has the freedom.
Yeah, and Xhaka's just like running forwards. I love that. I think he's always wanted to do that, and he's never been able to. And now it's like he's got that freedom, and he's coming alive a bit. I don't know what he was like in the Leeds game, like today, but
he was really good today. But it was more on the defensive side. Yeah.
Awesome. So I know you said you were gaining confidence, but you said, oh, it's still early days. You've now beaten, you know, the likes of Liverpool. You've now beaten Tottenham. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think are you a lot more confident in Arsenal taking the title than you were before?
I still think it's way too early to say that. But the more, 4-point gap at the moment. If we just keep on winning, then nothing's gonna be able to stop that. But we have to just keep on. We take each game as it comes, but still, it's way too early to say. Way too early to say. Like, I mean, even Pep himself said that Man City's main title contenders are flipping Liverpool. Don't know how. Like, yeah, they beat them today, but like the gap between us and Liverpool is still 14 points.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, absolutely. So Arsenal looking good. I think they're doing what they need to do. Obviously, you beat Liverpool last week as well. So you've played, in terms of the traditionally bigger teams, you played Liverpool and United so far, and obviously lost 1-1. But it'll be interesting to see
as well.
Oh, yeah, but I don't really consider them a big team. But it's about, I think when it comes to actually playing Man City, I think that's going to be the game that's going to really see
for sure
where you're at. So yeah, I mean, you almost fell into a Michael Owen comment there. If you just keep winning, then you'll end up winning the league. But we know that's easier said than done. But I think Tom's right. Your defense is going to have to be immaculate to win the league, or your attacking needs to be better than your defense. So, another Michael Owen saying is that you're going to have to score more than you concede in each game. So yeah, let's just see what happens. See where we are at Christmas time into the new year. See whether Arsenal are still at the top or whether they have fallen behind. But it will be interesting to see. I think that Leeds were unlucky today. I do think that the right result should have been a draw, just from seeing the highlights that were there. But also my bias could be coming in there, and I recognise that. But I think that, Leeds definitely had from the stats, obviously we didn't watch the game, but it looks as though Leeds were more of I don't want to use the dominant force, but they were more of the aggressors today, that's for sure. Okay, so do let us know what you think of Arsenal so far, what you think of their credentials as title challengers, and let's see where they're going to be. Okay, so just moving on to United versus Newcastle. Obviously, I only saw the highlights of that game, but it was, man, I don't usually blame referees, but they were shocking today. VAR was shocking. Don't know if anybody's seen some of the highlights from the United game today, but there was 2 clear penalties that we should have had. One on Jadon Sancho and one on Ronaldo, where he's like karate chopped from behind and he still doesn't get given a penalty. The free kick, the goal that was disallowed that Ronaldo had scored, the defender actually passed it back to Nick Pope. The referee had already blown. Why? What?
The ref had his
hand
up in the air.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He had already blown the whistle, which means that the ball is in play. He knocked it back to Nick Pope, and so it should have been a goal. That's what it says. As soon as the whistle goes,
then?
Huh?
Why wasn't it a goal? Why did the ref have his hand up in the air he hadn't even given the signal to start playing?
He had.
That's why he's had his hand up.
Yeah, so he blew the whistle and his hand was up, meaning that it needs to go, but the defender had already passed the ball back. So Ronaldo, very, very clever, went and took the ball from Nick Pope, knowing full well what has happened there. And then they just didn't allow that goal to happen. So I believe that
why would Nick Pope have just stood there still and let Ronaldo take the ball?
Because obviously he wasn't aware of what was going on or whatever. But what I'm saying is,
though he point blank saw Ronaldo coming at him and take the ball off him, he didn't move a muscle.
He is like creeping forward and things like that. So whatever. But the defender had knocked it back to Nick Pope. That is what I'm talking about. When the whistle had already been blown. So technically that ball is in play. I think that the referees have got it wrong in that. Because you can't blow the whistle for it to then be kicked back. I don't know why you're shaking your head, because the whistle was blown. If this was Arsenal, you'd be doing exactly the same thing that I'm doing.
No, I wouldn't.
Deary me, you would,
mate. You can, at the end of the day, you drew the game, and I see that you're frustrated, but that wasn't a goal. Why? You can say I just told you, the ref had his hand up in the air. He hadn't carried on play.
So Matt, right? You're going on about the ref having hand up in the air. What does that actually mean?
Well, right. Here's what happened. Newcastle were taking a free kick. The player decided he's not taking it. Pope's going to take it. So he knocks the ball back to Pope, and Pope stands there waiting for Ronaldo to move his bum out of the way so he can launch upfield. Ronaldo does what Ronaldo wants, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna try and get a goal here because we're really struggling to get one." So he takes it from Pope, and Pope's standing there like, "What the flip are you doing, mate? Like, I'm trying to take a free kick." And then Ronaldo knocks it in. That's exactly what happened.
So,
otherwise, why would Pope have just let him take it?
When the defender had kicked the ball back, had the whistle been blown?
I don't know, but
yes, it had, which means that the ball was in play.
Well, why didn't the goal stand then?
I don't know.
You'll have to put in an inquiry in. Maybe Terry will know.
Well, maybe he will. But I believe that goal should have stood. I believe that we should have had 2 clear penalties.
They should have had one as well, though. Newcastle should have had a penalty as well, way before yours.
What, when Callum Wilson went through?
Yeah. Looked like a clear penalty to me.
Okay, maybe they should. But if we had scored both those penalties and they had scored their one, we would have still finished 2-1 up. So, we can play tit for tat or whatever.
But
the reality is that we should have had two.
You want. You can do what if all you want, but you didn't win the game. You didn't. Well,
thank you for that. I'm just going back to doing what you did last season for your Arsenal agenda with the referees against your team. So what I'm saying here is
so are you saying the referees are against your team?
No, I believe in this game that the referee decisions did not go our way.
Okay.
They did not go our way. There were 2 clear penalties that we should have had. Maybe, Newcastle should have had one as well, but we absolutely dominated that game. And I think that we were very, very unlucky not to get, we got a point from it, but not to get the 3 points. I feel like it was really, really unlucky. And I feel like we played some really, really good football as well. Obviously, based on the highlights and things and some of the bit of the game that I was able to see. But we're still in that transition period. I think that we're still doing pretty well. We've only lost 3 games this season. This is our first draw of the season, so it's not too bad. I just don't think that I think that the referees need to come out and say exactly why there weren't at least one of those penalties that were given. Because for other teams, these decisions are going their way. All I'm asking for is consistency. And that seems to be something that's really, really lacking in the Premier League this season. From the handballs through to the fouls, all of that, there just doesn't seem to be consistency across the board. And I think that that's a problem for all football fans. But Tom, what do you think?
I mean, I've not watched any of the highlights of this game either. So I don't know. I'm not going to talk about the decisions in that regards. But if you think about how big these decisions are, like, it could be the difference when you get in the Champions League and not. Or it could be the difference when you get in Europa or not. Do you know what I mean? So when it comes to that, these decisions, or even relegation, not saying for yourself, but certain decisions in the past, referees, bad decisions, have looked back and thought, wow, because of that bad decision, this team is relegated. It has happened before. So I mean, it's massive. So yeah, I think, and I think some of the VAR decisions recently have been terrible. Some of the games. So there needs to be some consistency, and the rules they keep changing, don't they? Like the handball rules keep changing, everything keeps changing. It's like, when are they going to actually say, all right, this is it now. These are the rules. VAR, football, everything's aligned. Everything now has been condensed down. We know what's happening. When's that going to happen? Or are we just going to be in flux the whole time?
But I think VAR and the refereeing decisions isn't the reason why we didn't get the win today, because Fred missed an open goal. Rashford should have scored. So, obviously our attacking force just wasn't what it should have been. Ten Hag made a questionable decision to take off Ronaldo as well and bring on Rashford. I thought they would have taken off Fred. So, there's some questions that should be thrown at Ten Hag there. But I just think that it's all come into it, and it's all impacted upon kind of the result, obviously. But I'm just talking across the board. VAR and the refereeing decisions, they've been poor. From the handballs last week, handballs that were given, handballs that weren't given, through to some of the penalties that have been given, some that haven't been given. It's like, why can't they all? I know that refereeing is a subjective thing, but why can't there all be some similarity there? That's what I'm struggling with.
I don't think there ever will. Like, it's always going to be down to somebody's opinion, whether it's somebody's opinion on the pitch or somebody's opinion in VAR. Like, it's not. If it was the same person refereeing every single game and VAR every single game, then you'd see consistency. But because it's a different person every time, it's always somebody else's opinion on what's strong, what's soft, what's clear, what's not obvious, what's not an obvious error, and that's why you're not going to have consistency, because it's always somebody different.
Well, maybe what they do need to do is have the same people on VAR every single game. So you've got your VAR officials, because at the moment what they are is whoever's not refereeing a game and part of the refereeing squad then becomes a VAR. I think that they should have is just the specialist VAR referees and then your normal match day referees. Maybe that could bring some consistency, or you'll still have consistency of the subjectivity anyway. Yeah,
but it's still not going to be the same person, because you have games at the same time. Like, we need to introduce like robot VAR that don't have opinions. Do you know what I mean?
Algorithms that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Matt has got a point. I think you got a point as well. You can't judge every single game at the same time. We can't have the same people doing the same games. But one thing I think is because you got people on the pitch, right? And they're learning and they're developing their refereeing skills and whatever, and they take that into VAR. But if they didn't have that experience, could they do VAR effectively? So my point is they both kind of feed into each other. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
They both, I think, both experience on pitch VAR. They both feed and help refs. But I just think some refs are better than others. I know that after a game, there is some kind of review process where they look at the decisions, and referees that keep making like the wrong decisions, they go down in the league. And if they lose so many like points, they go down to the championship. Do you know what I mean? So it's like referees do make bad decisions. They do make wrong decisions. And what you're saying is you want to see that cut out a lot more in football, so everything's more consistent.
I mean, I'm all for human error because that's always going to be in it, but it's literally happening every week, and I don't understand that. And it also appears to be the same referees that are making these human errors as well. Like some of the from the pundits today. So I can't remember the exact referee who was refereeing our game. I'm not going to even try to remember, but they said like he's just not a good referee. So it's not like they're just seeing it from this game.
Referee for the Man U game today. It's Craig Pawson.
Craig Pawson. I can't remember which pundit said it, but he's just not a good referee. He just doesn't seem to be a competent referee because it's not just this game he's making these mistakes. He's doing it in many, many other games. And that's the sort of thing that we don't want. So the occasional human error, fine. People can forgive that. But when you've got a particular referee that's consistently bad, something needs to be done about that because like you said, it can make the difference between your success and your failure. But again, VAR and refereeing wasn't the reason why we didn't get the 3 points today.
Yeah. But it is funny though, because Leicester have a referee as well. I can't remember his name. You'd all know him. But there's one ref that whenever he always gives us bad decisions. And he's like, I remember we got him a few games ago and it's like, oh no, it's this guy again. All the pundits were saying in the BBC, Leicester, they're like, oh no, we've got this ref again. It could, decisions aren't always great. So it's funny how teams have their bogey referees. Maybe Craig Pawson is Man U's bogey referee. Maybe he's out to get you.
Maybe. But I still think we did enough to win that game. We just weren't good enough going forward. From what I could see, Ronaldo seemed to have a pretty good game. It was everyone else around him that were pretty much lacking today. I mean, defensively and midfield, we won that battle completely. It was just kind of like Anthony and Sancho kind of like let the side down a little bit today, which was not very good. And obviously Martial's out at the moment as well. We didn't have Christian Eriksen being able to do what he's been doing in a lot of the games so far. So I know these are excuses and things, but when you've been kind of like relying on that starting 11 to be pulling the strings and all of that, and then suddenly like one of your main playmaker comes out of the team and goes in with Fred, who just clearly isn't Brazilian. It's difficult. It's difficult. But I'm still very optimistic. I still feel like we're going to be able to do things. We're only 9 games in. We are. We got Tottenham coming up on Wednesday, and then we've got Chelsea coming up the next Saturday. So I think that will show what we're made of.
Wow.
See what happens from that.
2 big games there.
I've got a question for you, Nick. Right. Yeah. So if you look at like these elite managers that come into clubs and they like change the fortunes of clubs, like Pep, for example, Man City. At first, he had that first season for him was pretty hard, but like within the first 10 games, there were glimpses of what was to come. There were glimpses of like his kind of gameplay that was going to push them eventually to the top of the table and get them winning trophies. At this point in time, for yourself, it's been 9 games. It's been, I think it's the 11th game, week 11 now, and you've seen a few more European games as well. Have you seen that from Ten Hag? Have you seen that?
Like I've been really impressed with some of the football we've been playing. I mean, look, we at times we outplayed Arsenal, we outplayed Liverpool. We've won a decent amount of games. I think our Europa League form has been quite questionable. I've been really struggling with that. But for me, I care more about what happens in the Premier League. And I think, barring what we did against Brentford and Brighton, which I think was Ten Hag's wake-up call to say, maybe I can't play my football yet, I need to work to the team strengths rather than my own. So he adapted his system a little bit. Slowly but surely, he's been able to start bringing in a little bit more of his own kind of like mindset and his way of playing. So yeah, I've been quite impressed with what I've seen. You know, not relying on that 4-2-3-1. He's very much been going with the 4, one holding midfielder, and then 2 more attacking midfielders, and then obviously his wide 3 as well. So I've been really, really happy. But I've also been glad to see that he's tried to adapt to the opposition, barring Man City. You know, I completely get that. I think that he made a few questionable decisions in that. Maybe he tried to go too much at Man City, whereas he might have verged on being better at doing, say, what Ollie would have done last season, sitting, camping, try and hit him on the break, all of that. Because everyone does it. I mean, look what Liverpool did to Man City today. You know, they just sat back, soaked up the pressure, got that one chance, and Salah got his goal. You know, so maybe that's what he should have done. But he's still learning. You know, he's come from the Eredivisie where, you know, he's been so used to Ajax having all of this possession, whereas he needs to realise that you know United you can't do that at the moment. So yeah, I'm definitely optimistic. I mean, it took Pep. You know, he had to have that first kind of apprenticeship year of trying to suss out the Premier League, see what he needed to do, and then look what happened. Klopp, it took him 4 years to win the league. You know, Mourinho, when he first came into the Premier League, it took him a little bit of time to adapt to it and stuff like that. So let's just see what happens. But I've been really, really happy with kind of like the performances so far, barring kind of like what happened at the start of the league, because, you know, I was really dreading it moving forward if that was going to be the caliber of our performances. But I've been happy so far, and I'm optimistic. I think that against Spurs will come out. I hope and pray that Martial is going to be fit. And I think that we could potentially take something from Chelsea. I was just looking at the table, and if we win both our games, and that's a big ask, but if we win both our games, we go on to 22 points. You know, we go on to 22 points. You know, if we beat Spurs on Wednesday, we'll only go 3 points behind them, 4 points behind them. Do you know what I mean? So it's still very, very open. I'm not even thinking about the league or anything like that, but I truly do believe that top 4 is well within our grasp, as long as we can kind of like keep this going. I know there's going to be a few more hurdles along the way, but I'm confident moving forward. Yeah. All right. So what I thought that we would do is just do our top 4 predictions based on the first 9 and 10 games of the season. So what are we saying, Tom? Who are your top 4 going to be? And do it in rank order. So from 1 to 4.
Okay. Oh, wow. Has changed a little bit since the beginning of the season, I must say. Okay, you put me on the spot a little bit here, but I reckon I can give you quite a good answer. I think it's going to be Man City. I think it's going to be Arsenal second. I think Liverpool third, and Chelsea fourth.
Liverpool third. It's going to take a big ask for Liverpool to get that third spot.
Based on how they played today. You know what? If they didn't play, because I watched that game and I was really impressed with them, actually. Their defence as well. I thought Klopp set the team up really well and everyone gave everything. And I think if they can keep playing like that, they can do it. But it has to be on that condition that they keep playing how they played today.
You know, the only thing I would question Liverpool there is that they're not going to be playing Man City every game. So can they just sit back and absorb the pressure and then go on that counter attack? Do you know what I mean? But and it's been against the lower ranked teams where they seem to have come undone. But no, I get what you're saying, Matt. What do you think your top 4 are going to be?
I mean, I'd like to say Arsenal, but realistically, I think it'll probably be Man City. And then we'll go, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea. I mean, probably Tottenham or Manchester United. So the top 5, we'll move around a little bit. But thing about Tottenham is they're playing terrible football at the moment, but they keep grinding out wins. So what happens when they start playing good football? So, you know, you're quite a way behind them at the moment. Can you bridge the gap if they continue to play well, or not play well? Can you bridge the gap if they continue to grind out the wins? Yeah, it'd be if you can beat them, close the gap a bit. But yeah, I mean Tottenham do worry me a bit because they like you watch their games, they're so boring. They don't really play exciting football, but they still get wins.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I was saying that is that Tottenham, we do have a game in hand on Tottenham. So if we were to win our game in hand and beat them, we'd just go a point behind them. So yeah, no, but it's all still to play for. I think that my top four, I'm gonna be consistent with what I've said, and I think that Arsenal, they're in the driving seat right now. There's a 4-point lead there, and even if you lost to Man City, that still gives you a 1-point gap between them. So if Arsenal do have the title making qualities, if everyone goes on about Saka and Partey and Saliba and Ramsdale, this isn't just a little team anymore. Everyone's bigging them up and things like that. So if they do have something made about them, I'm going to stick with saying Arsenal are going to be first. I think Man City will be second. I think that I'm feeling confident. I'm going to go United third, and I'm going to go Chelsea fourth. I think that Tottenham and Liverpool will both miss out. I think that negative football can only get you so far that Tottenham play. And I think that Liverpool are way too inconsistent this season. Klopp got sent off in the Man City game as well. So I think that he's feeling the pressure now. And I get what Tom said about, that they were impressive today. Yeah, because they sat back and they counter-attacked. Can they do that in all their other games? And that's why United came unstuck last season, because we were a very good attacking team, a counter-attacking team, but we weren't good when we were having to get through those low blocks and things like that. So I'm going to say Arsenal to win the league, Man City to finish second, United to finish third, and Chelsea to finish fourth. All right, so moving on to our players of the weekend, which is obviously going to be limited based on the amount of football that we've been able to see. But Tom, let's start with you. So who was your player of the weekend and your flop player of the weekend?
Yeah. So my player of the weekend was Mohamed Salah. I thought he has had a tough time recently. It would have been easy for him to have low confidence. I know he did quite well in the Champions League coming into this. He kind of found his himself again. But he missed quite an easy opportunity. Edison made a really good save, actually. In all fairness, just got a touch to it, but he was just a lot. I liked his post-match interview, and he was just like, I knew there'd be another chance, and I knew I'd get another chance. We were creating chances today, and if I could get the chance, I knew I'd score one of them. And I thought he did really well under pressure. So definitely Mohamed Salah. My flop of the week is Tyrone Mings, that terrible back pass to the keeper Martinez. The ball was kind of spinning, and then he. So I watched that game as well, and then he headed it. It didn't quite reach, and then Mount just plucked it and kicked into the corner. So,
and who would you give your manager flop and manager of the weekend to?
Yeah, a manager flop, probably Steven Gerrard. I would say Brendan Rodgers, but I think the players have said enough. I think he set the team up in a way that wasn't so bad this week for Leicester. The result was so bad. I'd tell you what, though, Aston Villa did look quite well moving forwards. And actually, I didn't think 2-0 was a fair reflection of the game. But I still think, I know he's had quite good results recently. But I'm going to say Steven Gerrard, because I think Aston Villa could and should have done better today.
Yeah. Okay, so Matt, who are your players of the weekend and flops of the weekend?
Yeah, so I was gonna go for either Mason Mount, because he got 2 goals. Not many goals this weekend, so it's really hard to pick somebody out. But Mason Mount's free kick was pretty decent. Obviously the other goal was gifted to him on a plate. But also Kepa made some amazing saves in that game as well. So they can both have it. And then flop of the week. Again, I'm not really sure who to go for. I know that Fred had a bad game, so I'll say Fred.
Okay. I mean, if you look at Fred's stats, it wouldn't suggest that he was, but I saw some of his play and he was crap. Who's your manager flop and one of the weekend?
Yeah, definitely Stevie G. I saw his pre-match interview where he literally said Chelsea should come and beat us. Well, actually, I think he said Chelsea should wipe the floor with us. So as I mean, if you're an Aston Villa fan watching that, you're thinking, all right, so you've already said we're going to lose. What now? And they did lose. So yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know any Villa fans, but yeah, Aston Villa got to change something as well because they're not doing too well at the moment. And manager of the week, we'll go for Graham Potter because Chelsea won by the most amount of goals, and that is literally what I've got to base it on.
Okay, so my player of the weekend, I think I'm going to go for Ivan Toney. I think he's a great player. I like him a lot. I think that he bossed the game on Friday night against the Brighton team that are pretty in form. I think that he took his penalty really coolly. I just think he's a really good player. Held it up well, brought other players in. And that's what I like to see in a centre forward. I think flop of the weekend for me is Cancelo. I think he had a very easy clearance to make and he let it bounce underneath him and Salah went on and scored. And I think he's experienced enough not to do stuff like that. Just head it forward, punt it forward or whatever. Don't try and bring it down there when you know you've got Salah just in behind you that will race away and score. So he's a flop for me for this weekend. My manager of the weekend, I think I'm going to give that to... I'll give it to... don't know, it's really hard to say. I'll just go for Graham Potter as well, because I think that at the start when he first took over, there was a few questions raised about him. And then, he didn't have a great first game. And people were questioning whether he was going to be able to do it with Chelsea, but he seems to have turned their fortunes around. And he's bringing a bit of his style into the play as well. And he's made some big, tough calls, such as dropping Mendy and bringing Kepa back in, because I thought Kepa was, he was cast out into the wilderness at Chelsea, but he seems to have been back in, and Kepa's playing really well. So Graham Potter deserves that credit. I think a flop of the weekend for me in terms of managers, I'm giving it to Jurgen Klopp. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, he went off and beat Man City, but to get a red card, which means that you're now not going to be able to be on the touchline for your upcoming games. I think that's an amateurish thing to do as well. You just need to rein it in a bit. I hate all of this fake character stuff of pump in the air and hugging everyone and all of this.
So how many games does he miss for a straight red? Do they still miss 3 or just 1?
I think it's 3, but maybe managers are slightly different. Well, it's definitely 1. So he'll be out of the midweek game. But I think that's enough to get he's the only manager that got a red card this weekend. I think he's the only manager this season that's got a red card. So I'm going to give it to him. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
I did love seeing him get a red card, to be fair. That was really fun.
Yeah,
he went mental.
And then he put his middle finger up to the ref as well. So it might get even worse for him. He actually put his middle finger up. So let's see what happens there.
I've not said my manager of the week yet.
Oh, who is it?
Klopp.
Klopp, you idiot. Yeah,
No,
all right.
I'm actually being serious, right? Because I know it's annoying, and the amount of times I've been annoyed at him on the sideline doing that fist pumps and stuff, just rub it in your face, and he's really annoying. But I thought at that crucial moment, the fans and the players need to see a lot of passion, like a bucket load of passion they needed to see, and they got it. They got a bucket load of passion from him. I mean, he got sent off. He was so passionate. He got sent off the pitch. And the players were like, right. Salah was like, right, I'm going to score now. I've seen that. So sometimes I'd like to see a bit more of that from Brendan Rodgers, to be honest. So I'm going to give it to Klopp because for passion, 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's an idiot. But for passion, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Same as
Okay. Absolutely. He can win Passion FC's trophy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that is the end of the stream for today. Do give this video a thumbs up and drop us a comment to let us know who you think is winning the Premier League. And we will see you guys next